Did Super Duper actually ruin the offseason, and were Ralph and Jeff somehow involved? Stay tuned. Hey everybody, Walty Wanderers, buckle up, strap in. We got a hard-hitting, pull no punches, no sugarcoating it, no rainbows, no sunshine. I'm just going to give it to you and give it to you straight. We got a good one to unpackage today. Welcome to the show. I hope everybody's doing great. So let's jump back on the Moto merry-go-round. And around we go as we examine the good, the bad, and maybe even a little bit of the ugly.
No, Walty, not the ugly. Only report on rainbows and sunshine.
No. Somebody's got to read between the lines and look between the industry ruts. And that's what I intend to do today. So the reality is this. We all know how Super Duper came to be in fruition. It was, in fact, World Supercross forced their hands. And listen, before Super Duper came along, or even World Supercross, we had like the King of Bercy was pretty much one of the biggest off-season events. We had like the richest race in motocross, the U.S. Open of motocross. We had Monster Million. We've always had something for these guys to do. But these playoffs, the riders are clearly not in love with them because, listen, like we've talked about before, I was just talking to one of you guys, one of you guys messaged me, and we were talking about this. Listen, friends, the realities are of this situation. This sport is a blood sport. It's gladiator games. So when we water it down with electric bike intermissions instead of freestyle, gnarly, high-flying, high-octane, and punk rock, and chicks, and pyro, and all that, we're just watering it down, trying to make it mainstream. When we have football stars starting to be paid to come sit in the booth during Supercross last season, that was, again, just another way to water this down. When we start having now playoffs and intermission shows and referees become part of the verbiage that these commentators are in fact pushing, we're clearly trying to chase ball sports. Now, the best we can do, I used to always say this when I worked in the industry, whether I'm soliciting riders, sponsors, or teams to affiliate or try to help. Listen, I'd say, listen, this is the deal. Motocross, or Supercross rather, is the second most televised motorsport, only behind NASCAR. And our growth index shows us passing NASCAR, but then something happened. We couldn't even get major television networks to pick us up and broadcast these races live anymore. We're streaming it now. The waters have been extremely muddied. A lot of this is crisis driven. A lot of injections, a lot of STEMI injections came in, and a lot of these promoters and other people took this money and ran with it. And so one of the things that we did with it, clearly what happened is when World Supercross emerged post-crisis and said, hey, we're going to have a new series for these riders. And a lot of riders were excited to do it. But then the industry clearly started picking up the phone and calling teams, and we don't want your riders going. In fact, just hang on. We're going to have our own off-season events. We're going to keep this all over here. We've definitely tried to squash the off-season for these riders. But here's the kicker, friends. With the off-season, the top paid riders, even with Super Duper and its great payouts, it's not enough to keep these guys interested. The bottom tier guys, yes, but the top tier guys, they could care less. In their contracts now that they're signing with these teams, it's in fact contractually obligated for them to go to the playoffs. I bet you if it wasn't, a lot of these riders wouldn't even show. They do outdoors and indoors, and a lot of them would just go Supercross only and maybe do a couple of these overseas and off-season events. That's what happened. But here's really the kicker. When we saw initially, and this is what the industry kind of blew it, because when the industry, and they hired Ricky, Ricky, I love you, brother, because I came up in the industry with you dominating, and remember in the pits, and same even McGrath. I came up during the McGrath era as well. And I remember seeing you dethrone MC, and it was not pretty, dude. It was not pretty. Somehow you went through your hazing, and now you're involved in the industry, whether it was RCH, now Triumph, now in the booth. And all of a sudden, a lot of these other color commentators and just sports analysts are not surviving the Ricky era. But here's the kicker. When Ralph and Jeff were announced to be the commentators for World, we're like, dude, this could be good. Because listen, Ralph and Jeff, like at first nobody liked them that much, but then they grew on us. They became the voice of Supercross. In fact, they graced most of the video games that we've all played as the voiceover work on these video games. And they were very good. I thought they were a great team, right? We had Jeff, who is an ex-pro, and then Ralph, who is a decent analyst. And the production value was pretty decent. It wasn't just all this robotic, manufactured kind of hype, right? This homemade production value. And now we're getting away from the extreme gladiator blood sport that this once was, and we're trying to push it into this mainstream kind of narrative. It's going to be really hard for them to do that. I mean, ball sports, you could buy a basketball or a football for $20. You need at least 20 grand to go get a bike and get that thing competitive, just on a privateer level. Probably, I mean, much more than that. But at minimum, these privateers that are coming in the back of their truck, I mean, even the satellite teams, they're spending at least $20K on a bike to just get it pipes and motor work and suspension, dynos, and whatever else they need to do to make these bikes competitive as possible. It's pretty gnarly out there. But I think when the industry saw because even content creators like me are like, dude, World Supercross looks like it could be legit. And then all of a sudden, the Lawrence brothers, the Wonder Boy, the Chosen One, the Moto Messiah was supposed to go do those off-season events. And all of a sudden he couldn't because his visa. My visa. You listen, man, when you're the Wonder Boy, a gazillionaire, and you have this type of backing behind you, they'll find a way to get you over there. They can put an emergency visa or whatever in place. Whether that's true or not, who cares? It doesn't really matter. The reality is this. All of a sudden, the industry came up with this SMX off-season, but one wasn't enough. They had to do 4. And the riders aren't exactly digging this because this is a lot of racing. And like I said, you guys know, I know, that's why we loved the sport so much. And that's why in the early 2000s it was so great, because in fact we did rely on punk rock chicks, pyro, and freestyle intermissions and just high-flying, high-octane stuff, not watered-down, boring football players coming to promote our sport. And then our commentators calling it playoffs, referees, and halftime shows. That's not what this is. This is blood sport. This is dangerous. Ask Doug Henry, ask Ernesto Fonseca, ask a lot of these riders that have given their lives up for the sport. Now, not to say that football isn't dangerous. A lot of these football players end up, getting just as hurt. But I mean, not like Supercross. I mean, Supercross and motocross, I mean, this is gnarly. This is racing without a roll cage. And it's not if you're going to crash, it's when and how bad. It's not if you're going to get hurt, it's when and how bad. And I don't even care if you put these riders on electric bikes, which would be catastrophic to the industry. I can't believe we're even pushing that direction because, first of all, part of the sound and the smell and the gate drops, in these events is part of the allure. When you remove the performance component by removing a motor work and replacing it with a battery, where you have no separation. A battery's a battery. A motor is like, you got to be talented. Like Mitch Pateman, this dude's honed his craft as being tuning motors, right? So this is a really serious situation, but I really want to drive this point home for you guys today. What I believe happened, and the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. Listen, my job's to entertain, educate, and inform the best of my ability. That's what I do here, right? I've been called the TMZ of motocross by some people in the comments. Like, I get it, right? I'm not polished. I trip on my words. I misspell stuff. I don't care. I'm pumping this stuff and throwing it out there raw and unedited for the most part. I don't rely on homemade production value. And I think a lot of you guys appreciate that because for me, I know, and probably most of you, the last thing we want is somebody that's perfect, robotic, perfect. Nobody trusts somebody that's perfect. Give me somebody that's real. Now, Ricky, on the other hand, he stumbles on his words and mistakes him and misspeaks all the time. But he's actually trying to act like he's perfect while he's doing it. I'm not trying to act like I'm perfect. Like, I know I'm not perfect, right? I don't want to be perfect. I want to just be me and give it to you and give it to you straight. In final thoughts, I come to you as a friend, as a content creator, as a moto guy, wants to see you not only win on the track, off the track. Understand the waters you're swimming in now. They're shark infested. Super duper. Welcome to the swimming pool. World, thank you. Thank you because you forced Super Duper's hand to come up with this event. And a lot of the privateers are now the ones benefiting. The pro riders don't even want to be there, but contractually, they have to be there. And I don't think they dig it. And eventually, they're going to figure out a way to not show up at these things anymore. And then we won't have Super Duper anymore, just like US Open and Motocross went away, Monster Million went away. Eventually, SMX could go away too. And that's why Walty will be here, blow the lid off it every step of the way, because it's not only what we need, it's in fact what we deserve. If you appreciate the content, I want to humbly ask you to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Social media links in the description of this video if you'd like to follow me there, along with links to channels I've appeared on I think you might enjoy. If you enjoyed this video, you're going to love the next video, and there's an easy subscribe icon for your convenience. As always, thank you for your time. Don't go over the bars. God bless, and I'll see you on the next video.